I'm Rhett Shull. Welcome back to another video. I'm here with Zach from Mythos Pedals, and we are at Mythos Pedals HQ outside of Nashville, Tennessee. And today we're going to do a little head-to-head comparison between two identical pedals, although there's a slight difference between them. We're going to see if we can hear the difference between a surface mount made pedal and a through hole made pedal. Now, if you're not familiar with what that means, Zach is going to explain it.
You can either have through hole components where you have components with leads that go through the circuit board and you solder them on the back, or you can have surface mount components which just sit on one side. They don't go through the back and they're soldered on these tiny little pads. Now, I soldered this one myself, but most of the time you're going to have a robot place the parts and then it'll go in an oven and it'll flow all the solder, and a human doesn't really have to do any of that. So that's the biggest difference. And a lot of people think this doesn't sound as good as this, but on a schematic, they're exactly the same.
So the debate online is kind of that the through hole is more of the handmade style pedal, thus it sounds better because it's got the handmade mojo.
Right. When it comes right down to it, these tiny little parts, you think there's no way they can sound good, but they're a functional equivalent of these, and in a lot of ways they're more consistent, and you're getting the same product every time. So the tolerances are tighter, which means, like the value of a component won't sway as much. But there is like this thing that when you open a pedal, you want to see like stuff sitting up. You don't want to see these tiny computer parts, and I think a lot of it's in people's heads.
Right. So what two pedals are we comparing today? What are these?
Well, I got a couple. These are Chupacabras, so I'm going to throw this one in a box, and we'll have a through-hole Chupacabra and a surface Chupacabra. We have a through-hole Mjolnir and surface mount Mjolnir, and then through-hole Golden Fleece and surface Golden Fleece. Now this will be a blind study, so I have to double-check which one I put. But I think a lot of people would not assume that a fuzz especially would sound good.
Right.
Surface mount, but it's pretty shocking, and it all depends on what the circuit is. But I think the thing people have to remember is design isn't a component, it's how you put the parts together.
Right.
So I'll admit, I am somewhat skeptical. I know Zach, and I trust Zach. The man obviously knows what he's doing, but I've never done this type of head-to-head before, and I don't know. To me, the smaller components look like they're just not going to sound as good. So what we're going to do is a direct head-to-head comparison. We're using
a stock deluxe reverb, mic'd up with a blue,
going straight into a Zoom recorder.
I'm going to be using my trusty Novo Ceres J and Zach's unbelievable R9 Les Paul. Just that thing. That is a Murphy Les Paul. Can I say that?
Well, we refinned the top, so Murphy refinished the top because I want it to look like pearly gates.
Yeah, I mean, look at it.
Wow. It's all right.
So
we got single coils, we got humbuckers, we got a deluxe. We're gonna shoot out these three pedals, and I'm not gonna know which is which, and we're gonna try and guess. I want you to guess in the comments between A or B, which you think is the surface mount and which you think is the through hole, and which of the two you think sounds better.
So you know which is which?
Yeah.
I hope so.
I think so. Yes.
All right, so let's start with the Novo single coils. And which pedal are we starting with?
We'll start with the Golden Fleece. We'll get that one out of the way.
So the Golden Fleece is your fuzz?
That's it.
Okay. Wow, double fuzz. Okay.
my ear. So I think B is through hole. What?
Yeah, no, this is the through hole. So the first one was through hole.
Okay.
And that's the surface mount.
I like B better.
Yeah,
honestly.
It's funny. Like when this was my first attempt at ever doing this myself. Like I did this layout myself, and I'd only done the through hole thing, and I made it. It worked, and then when I put it in the box and A beat it, I was like, wait, this sounds a little better. Now we're gonna do the Chupacabra.
So what is the Chupacabra for those of you that are new?
So for the uninitiated, the Chupacabra is my take on like the first 4 or 5 ZZ Top records. I love those records, and they're just this raw guitar sound, and so it's just my attempt to bottle that magic, so to speak.
One had more gain than the other. One was a little louder.
Right, but that could be down to the pots.
Right.
Because pots have a pretty wide tolerance.
Right.
So, and these don't have the same pots, so it's not the most.
Okay. So
But-
this isn't as scientific as the other one.
Yeah.
I think it's the through hole was the louder, more gainy one because it's closer to like a hand wired amp.
That you're right. That was the through hole. But you know, it's weird. Like when you think about surface mount versus through hole, your guitar cable has capacitance, right?
Right.
When you have through hole, you have longer traces, which have capacitance, just like a
Right.
cable. Surface mount, they're so close, so you don't have as much capacitance. So there's
So
less signal loss.
Is that why the surface mount Golden Fleece was brighter, you think?
It maybe, you know, because there's less capacitance affecting the overall signal, but a lot can be said about just the pot tolerances.
Right. I'm 1 for 2. Let's do the Mjolnir next.
All right. So the Mjolnir is my take on the classic K-style pedal. These circuits are identical except for the surface mount thing. There's no mods, no changes. The only revision is just the components. But yeah, both of these, I've reduced the amount of gain that a Klon has because no one uses that much gain.
Right.
And kind of lowered the low mid so it's not as mid-humpy and reduced the overall treble. But these should be hard to tell apart.
Okay.
right, so the Chupacabra was pretty easy to tell the difference. This, honestly, I couldn't tell when you were switching it sometimes. I have no idea with this one. This is like a total shot in the dark for me. So I'm gonna say the one we started on was the surface mount.
No.
Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Yeah, the second one is a surface mount. They are so close, it's hard to tell. So the biggest thing that I've come to realize is that, like, if I don't put the knobs on exactly pointing in the same direction, you know,
Right.
something being off just the tiniest bit can throw off every, like, one-to-one comparison. So,
Right.
you know, I'm super proud of this. And honestly, this is a total redesign. It had to be to make this circuit go surface mount. And I think that new layout is really what makes it sound so good, which
Right.
is odd to say. But that's a big part of it. Because every revision of the circuit, even when I didn't change anything, just changed how the components were connected, sounded different.
So, what are your thoughts on the whole debate around surface mount versus through hole as a manufacturer and as someone who builds and designs pedals?
I think a lot of people connotate surface mount with cheap, and that's not always the case, but you know, most people's first interaction with surface mount is going to be like a Moore or some sort of inexpensive pedal. Not that there's anything wrong with those, but if you compare that to a nice, fancy, hand-selected component boutique pedal, it's not going to hold up the same. But when someone who has some idea what they're doing and they're not cutting any corners and they're sparing no expense, when you go surface mount, you can obviously get the same result. And the reason I did this is because Joel from Chase Bliss and Josh from JHS and all these guys were like, dude, you got to try it.
Okay, so honestly, he changed my mind because I did have a little bias, I'll admit, against the whole surface mount thing. That's impressive, man.
Yeah, it's all about the design. And really, like, sure, some of these parts are cheaper, but a lot of the parts are just as expensive. You know, it's really all about how you route that signal. And sometimes it doesn't turn out right. I've definitely made some things already, surface mount prototypes, that I went nope. But a lot of these things, they just shock me and surprise me. And I'm the biggest skeptic there was, because when I first started doing this seriously, I was like, I'm never gonna do that. I'm not even gonna have top mount jacks. So look where we are.
Mythos Pedals, they have a YouTube channel. I'll have links to everything Zach does in the description box down below, including the 3 pedals that we used today in this video. So if you want to find more information or find out where you can pick one of those up, I have a Chupacabra and a Golden Fleece, and they're both excellent. Those will all be linked in the description box down below. Subscribe to the Mythos YouTube channel. We've got some cool stuff going on over there.
Try.
And also, if you want to build your own pedal, Zach just released a boost pedal kit that you can buy and build, and then you're going to do like a live stream thing with it.
Yeah, like the first batch is pretty much accounted for, but depending on the response from the second batch, we may hold off on the live stream until everyone gets them, because I have all the parts now, so I just have to put them in a box. But I'm super excited about it. It's just a simple booster, and I've already done all my mods and tweaking, and I really like it, so I think people are going to dig it.
Yeah, so if you want to build a pedal yourself, check out the Mythos Boost. Awesome. Thanks,
buddy.
dude.